I went to the opera last Friday with my husband. 3 hours, full Italian, English subtitles with hilarious commentary throughout. My husband and I got to see The Marriage of Figaro, and if you haven't heard of it, it's a comedy about class ascension and the lengths people go to get the things that they want. Super funny, super well done. And I scanned the crowd like I normally do, and seeing a sea of white faces wasn't anything new to me, but seeing white teenagers on a perfectly good Friday night, that was new to me. And they weren't there because they wanted to be. Don't get me wrong, they were bored out of their minds. These kids at this opera had their chins in their hands like this. They quite literally were checking their watches because you can't use your phone at the opera. And interestingly enough, on that very same weekend, the city of Atlanta was dealing with what they call teen takeovers. Unsupervised children looking for something to do, but unfortunately getting arrested for being belligerent. Some of them had guns, because I know you've seen the videos of those large groups of kids on the Beltline. I literally live in view of part of the Beltline, so I saw with my own eyes the cop presence, the teenagers loitering. But the question becomes, why is it for Black children that the only option for a Friday night third space is a teen takeover, heard of through word of mouth and social media flyers, just to ultimately be taken down by the cops? I might not have the answer to that question, but what I do know is that when there's no extracurriculars, nothing to do with unsupervised time, no sport in season, and no structured activity, that weekend becomes a void for them. And that void will be filled with anything that gets them off their phones and doom scrolling. So while Connor's at the opera with his parents, bored out of his mind but supervised, Howard is at a teen takeover, running amok just trying to find something to do. But there's a reason why Connor's parents have him at the opera. And it's for the same reason that Howard's parents don't have him anywhere supervised. And that's what we're going to talk about today. The wealthiest parents know, because this isn't a secret, that they have to keep their children intentionally busy. They have them learn instruments. They put them in the Scouts. They bring them along to things like the opera and make them sit for 3 hours without their phone. They give them weekend jobs at the country club. They bring them along to art auctions. The list truly goes on. And you can best believe a lot of these children aren't choosing these paths for themselves. Their parents are enforcing it on them because they know what happens with unstructured, unsupervised time. They know that a child who learns to sit dressed up in a formal room without relying on your phone for escapism, to be bored and actually sit with that boredom and do something that honestly isn't fun but just is an obligation, that child turns into a well-rounded adult. And honestly, in a lot of Black households, the only time we find that stillness in our children is at church on Sunday and at a funeral. Those are the only rooms where we ask our kids to sit quietly, be present, and get off your phone. But why is that? So now I'm back at the opera house, and I'm going through these realizations. Putting your child in a room like an opera or a charity gala or an auction puts them in the room with decision makers who will alter the course of their life the more that these people stay in their social circle. SVPs, managing partners, sales managers, people with nonprofit board seats. And these people hold job titles at the companies that our children will later apply for and not even realize that they're sitting across from someone who probably already has that job reserved for a friend of a friend or a friend's child. These are the people who change lives over a single dinner. And when my husband and I were at the opera, the first people we met were on the board of the opera. These are the people that you're in the room with by default when you go to things like this. And you can change your child's life through proximity because their children are being raised inside that world and they know how to navigate it. And our children are being kept outside of it, but not because they don't belong, but because no one thought to bring them in it. The tickets for the opera are $40. And you're in the same room in the grand tier as you are in the front orchestra. And when intermission breaks, everyone is outside of the theater. That's your opportunity to mingle. That same $40 that you use for a movie and popcorn in this day and age, honestly, that same $40 that you'll take to a dinner is the same $40 that can put your child in the room with people who make changes. That same $40 you gave them before they left out the house aimlessly to go to a teen takeover can be used to go to the opera. Will they be bored? Absolutely. Will they probably resent you for it? Sure. But when they're older, they'll understand why they were in these rooms almost against their will. Because as Black people, we can't have our children just running amok, feeding into stereotypes that we're trying to actively break. Those kids at the teen takeover aren't inherently dangerous. They're just looking for something to do outside of being on their phone all day. And there's nothing wrong with that. But it's up to the parents and the guardians and the people around them who know better to teach them how to do better. Why are we only relying on football season to keep your kid busy between the hours of 4 and 7 on weekdays? Why are we only relying on beta club, but then what are we doing when school is out? Give them those musical lessons. Put them in Boy Scouts. Put them in orienteering, archery, whatever it may be. Get them involved in extracurriculars. If you're a part of a country club, there's likely a child element that's there. Bring your child with you. And we wonder why there's such a divide between the access that their children have and our children have. It's because our parents have to do better of putting us in these spaces and stop assuming that just because it's a predominantly white space that we're automatically not able to go in it, because that's not true. Let me know in the comments what extracurriculars you did growing up that you realized kept you out of the mix in a good way. And if you have children, let us know in the comments what extracurricular activities are you putting them in, what members clubs, what initiatives are you teaching them, because these conversations are so important when it comes to the next generation having children. So be sure to like, comment, and subscribe, and stay tuned for my next video. I'd love to know what you guys want to hear.